Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Protect the Boot. Here with my co-host Jace LeJeune. I'm Grant Chachere. We're both a part of Gridiron Football, based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not that long ago, the playoff brackets revealed. We have a lot of great matchups to cover for in the playoffs, but we're not going to get into really the matchups part of it. We're going to just talk about the top seeds today. It's a short show today because me and Jace are both busy. We got the stuff going on. But tomorrow we're gonna have a huge show. We're gonna talk about everything, everything from Division One select to Division One non-select. It's gonna be a huge show. We're bringing on Jarrett Rozier of
Yep.
Louisiana versus all y'all. He was also formerly part of Rivals, so he knows the state from north to south. I mean, I'm really excited. We're really excited to bring him on. And like I said, this is probably the. I mean, this is. I can't remember a playoffs where we just have so many good teams and so much talent. I mean, I think this is probably
Yeah.
the most talented playoffs we've ever had. I mean, well, since I've been covering it, and I
Yeah.
think you can say the same, Jace.
Yeah, I can agree with you. And just the last couple of years, it just seemed like this is really the product. Not only just like the product's getting better with some of the top teams, but you're seeing a lot of new teams on the horizon that you never thought would be in this position. I mean, we're going to talk about some teams that are like one or two seeds that we're not used to seeing as the one and two seeds. So it's just really good for Louisiana high school football to get new teams out there, new brand names out there in high school football, and it just makes it really good for just the sport in general. And I would also recognize that with the select and non-select as well, there were some new teams that kind of classify themselves as select, and so there's actually some new teams playing in new different brackets. So it's going to be interesting to follow these eight playoff brackets through the Superdome.
Yeah, we're just gonna get started to go with Division Four.
Hmm.
So we're not gonna just like split up like Division One, Four select, and then Division Three select. We're kind of go through both the divisions, and we're gonna
Yeah,
talk about non-select and select together to kind of make it easier and also to
sure.
make sure the show isn't as long.
Right, right.
First, we'll start off with Division Four non-select. The top eight seeds were Logansport, Kentwood, Oak Grove, Haynesville, Jeanneret, Mangum, Homer, and Welsh. And then for Division Four Select, we had Vermilion Catholic, Southern Lab, Washington Christian, St. Martin's Episcopal, Riverside Academy, St. Mary's, uh, St. Frederick, and Opelousas Catholic. So, Jace, looking at both those brackets, they look. I mean, I think this is what everyone kind of thought it was going to be. Kentwood was for number one for a while, but they ended up losing to Southern Lab, so
Hmm.
they dropped out to number two, and then Logansport popped right back up to number one. I
Right.
think this is what everyone thought, kind of even a little bit before the season, what this is going to be like.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much your same old guys, right? When we talk about Division Four non-select, I mean we're talking about that bracket, right? The top four seeds are Logansport, Kentwood, Oak Grove, and Haynesville. We've seen all those four teams play for state championships, so those
Yeah.
are like the big brand names when it comes to Class 1A, or you call it Division Four, if you're talking about non-select. So the top of that order, that's pretty much what we've seen in years past. So the cream rises to the top. So yeah, I mean those four are not surprising when you look at really the select side of things. Vermilion Catholic, I mean they're undefeated. Jonathan Nortez, called his state. I mean covered his state championship game last year, and very exciting quarterback to watch for Vermilion Catholic. And not a lot of people were talking about him this year, but really, I think that team is really motivated to get back to the Superdome, and it's the same thing, right? When you talk about really the cream rising to the top, Vermilion Catholic, Southern Lab, and Southern Labs has been really good this year. They beat Kentwood, and you got Washington Christian, and then it shows really how. And then you got St. Martin's and Riverside, and that was a game that you covered. So, really, like the top teams, when you talk about the smaller teams, those are really the names that we've grown accustomed to in years past.
Right. And I'll say this too. Going for Division Four non-select, one of the scarier things of that bracket is that Homer is the 7th seed. you
Yeah,
know,
low. Yeah, that was a low one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right, but they're
Right.
7-3, so that's understandable why they
Yeah.
may be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of scary. If you're the number 2 seed and you see Homer as the 7th seed, that's pretty scary because Homer's been the last two state championships, winning in 2021 and losing in 2022 to Oak Grove,
Yeah.
who is the number 3
Right.
seed. So
Right.
a lot of great teams in Division Four non-select, and and programs with a lot of tradition. And then you
Yeah.
go to Division Four select. This is the second year in a row where Vermilion Catholic is the number 1 seed. Southern
Mm-hmm.
Lab, as we expected, was going to be the number 2 seed. They're a very talented team with Division One athletes across the board.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Washington Christian, as we may know. But the one thing that did shock me though was Riverside being below St. Martin's. I mean, that's. I
And
mean, I don't think
Riverside's
that's
got the head to head that you saw. So
right. Exactly.
that is surprising.
And they killed them. They
Yeah. Yeah.
destroyed St. Mark's Episcopal. So that kind of surprised me. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of goes back to the power ratings. Why I think sometimes you got to throw away the numbers when it comes to head-to-head matchups because there's no way St. Mark's Episcopal should be above Riverside. But I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, I don't think that really matters because Riverside is not afraid of St. Martin's, and they literally went. And when I went to that game, it was played at St. Martin's and they beat the living crap out of them. So
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters that much. But again, this kind of comes down to what I mean. I think the power ratings are a good thing, but sometimes stuff like this, I mean,
There's flaws. You go and
there's
look
flaws. I
at
mean,
it.
there's flaws. Like I think it's a
Yeah,
great
there's
system, but
flaws.
sometimes there's flaws. And now, luckily, the schools aren't really separated from 30, 40 minutes apart. But let's just say it was a team up north and a team down south. And let's
Mm-hmm.
say the team up north is 8-2, but they have a higher seed than the team that's like 10-0.
Yeah.
That's where it kind of gets down to the nitty gritty. I think that's one of the flaws that maybe the system needs to be fixed. I don't know, but I think it's a great system that's created by Hunter Bauer of Grow Preps. But it's just one of those things where I just sometimes there's flaws I disagree with, but everyone has disagreements, but a lot of it I love. But that's just one of
Yeah.
the flaws. Part of
The
it.
the thing I like about it is that it's going to encourage teams to go and face tough teams. It's going to
Right.
encourage them to face tough
Exactly.
competition because it's going to help you in the power rankings later on. So
Yeah.
if anything, it encourages the kids and encourages the coaches to go and face tougher competition rather than stray away from it.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say this: we're gonna get into more Division Four select tomorrow, but there's a team that's not in the top 8, and I really think it's a state contender. I'm gonna get into that tomorrow. But
Yeah.
let's move ahead to Division Three. Division Three non-select. Let's start first. Is Gina is number 1,
Yeah.
10-0 team. They've been kind of one of the stories of Division Three. Then you have Sterlington number 2, defending state champion. Am I correct? No, they're not the defending state champion, but they won in 2020. They won
2 years ago.
yeah. But they've won like four of the last like 7 or 8 years. So they've been one of the powers in the state of Louisiana. Then you have St. James at number 3, Union Parish at number 4, Bogalusa at number 5, with Crutchfield at the helm. He's done a fantastic job over there. Manny at number 6, Pine at number 7. They've been
Right.
one of the best stories in the state of Louisiana. I mean, nobody really expected them to be this good this year. And then, of course, Amy. Now, Amy's 5-4, but don't sleep on Amy. They're going to have talent. They're going to punch you right in the face, and they're not they're not afraid of anybody. And they have one of the better staffs in the state. Then you go to Division Three Select. You have, I think, as we all expected this, St. Charles number 1, Calvary Baptist number 2, Newman number 3, U High 4, Catholic New Iberia 5, 6 is Bunkie, 7 is Dunham, and 8 is Darwin Woods.
Yeah.
So, Jace, what are your takeaways from the top 8 seeds from both Division Threes, non-select and select?
First, I'm going to start off with the select side, and it's just because those teams in the select side of things, wow. Talk about it's going to be a battle in that bracket. When you got all those great teams together, it's just pretty deep. It's not only loaded at the top end, but it is pretty deep because Bunky's having a really good year. You talk about Catholic New Iberia. You still got Episcopal in there too, but you look at the top teams. St. Charles Catholic, your Newmans, your Dunhams, your Calvary Baptists. your U highs. Like it is going to be a dogfight in that bracket. And and be honest with you, you and me, and when we have Jared on tomorrow, we'll probably have three different champions from that bracket. It just
Yeah.
really comes to show you how good that bracket is. And then when you look at the non-select side, I mean, it's just for us, just my initial reactions to it. Sterlington is looking pretty strong, and this is a really golden opportunity for them to really have up the road to get two state championships in 3 years. So I really like the road. Now they got some tough teams, and we did mention uh Amy being in there and Sterlington. It shows you having that late season game can really help you because you're already in playoff mode because you're going to probably see that Amy team again. Or you're going to face a team similar to that one. So I really love how Coach Lee really drew that up, knowing that was going to be the case moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you about both those divisions. I mean, Division Three Select is absolutely stacked, and
And how about
the thing
Gina?
is,
How about Gina being number one? I mean,
oh yeah,
Coach Jay Roark has done an excellent job with that team. Zara
yep,
Jones is going to play in a bowl game at running
he's
back. Like
awesome,
he's really good. Like
awesome back.
great
Man.
season for the Gina Giants. I mean, kudos to them. And how about them getting a number one seed? That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone around the city kind of heard of Gina from Dre Jenkins,
Right.
who
Yep.
even though he wasn't really one of the star players for LSU, he's probably one of the favorites because he's made a bunch of clutch plays for LSU in the last 2 years, and he was one of the most reliable receivers. So I think that's how people started to hear Gina. But with this season, 10-0, including having
Yeah.
probably one of the best backs in the state, who I think is a true sleeper.
Yeah, he is.
I think everyone's starting to hear about them, and I think they have a chance to make a run to the dome. But I was going back to Division Three Select. What I was going to say is that you could you could easily pick 4 or 5 different state champions from this bracket. I mean, it's insane. And not only that, Notre Dame, who's not even part of the top 8, that's another team you
There
need to
you
be
go.
worried.
That's why I said how
They're
it's
a
deep.
very well coached team. I know they've kind of had a down year this year, but don't sleep on them. I'm never gonna doubt Louis Cook, man. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been
Going
around
down.
for long.
Yeah.
He's won more or less. I mean,
Oh yeah.
three or four state championships. He's in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Like he's the definition of a Hall of Fame coach. But
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really stacked Division Three in both non-select and select. But moving on to Division Two, and Division Two Select, you have St. Thomas More number 1, E.D. White number 2, number 3 is Lafayette Christian, number 4 is John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Coach Leonard Harris is doing a fantastic job. I've known him for quite a while because my dad actually coached him at Tulane.
Yeah.
He's not only was a fantastic player at Tulane, but he's also even better coach, and he's done a lot with that program. When he first got there, they only had 18, 20 players, and he led them to the playoffs. And now they have over 50 kids, and they're a top 4 seed. What a fantastic job he's done. Absolutely. But going back to the seeds, number 5, you have Shaw, who's coming off a huge win over Karen Crow. An upset victory that I picked up. I actually predicted in one of our other shows that they were going to be Karen.
You called it.
Mm-hmm. And then
Coach Tierney actually texted me this morning too, because I think he had a Player of the Week nomination. So it was like, well, you did it against Karen Crow too, so that's going to make some extra bonus points when we talk about Player of the Week. So that was a big win for him at the end of the season.
Yeah. And then number 6 is St. Louis Catholic out of Lake Charles. 7 is Terrellis Catholic. And 8 is St. Michael the Archangel, a program we're familiar with. Coach Leje has done a very good job over there. I mean, that's one of those teams where they're usually the thing about St. Michael's that they're good enough to beat whoever they want to, but then they lose some of those games they're not supposed to. But he's done a fantastic job of stabilizing the program to make sure they're competing with the best of the best. And I think they have a bright future ahead of them. But moving on to
and they got a big goal ahead of them, Grant, too, because they're trying to get their first ever playoff win, and they got to bye in the first round, so they have a chance to do it.
They've never won a playoff game.
Never won a playoff game. This has a chance to be their first playoff win.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great for that program, man. Shout out to Coach Leje. But I don't. You know probably more about this Baton Rouge area than I do. I'm originally from New Orleans, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's a great fun fact for
Yeah.
everyone. I was shocked by that. I thought they probably won a few maybe,
Yeah.
but they never win a playoff game for as
Never won
long
a
as they've
playoff
been.
game. It was a big,
That's
yeah.
They have a great chance to do that next weekend. I'm so glad for that program, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on to Division II non-select. I think this was a no shocker. Was did North Dakota be number one, led by legendary head coach Dennis Dunn
Right.
and quarterback Luke Delafield.
Yep.
Number two, you have Cecilia, who has been flying under a lot of people's radars.
Yeah.
The Diesel ran for 300
Yeah, the
yards, and passed for
Diesel.
another 100. Yeah, he's gonna be a Player of the Week nominee in my
Oh yeah,
opinion.
he's gonna be up there.
Did
I
the
know
coach
that.
send him in? The coach send him in?
Oh yeah. Trust
Oh,
me.
great.
Grant. We get actually get Cecilia submission every
That's
week.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so he's gonna be on there.
Love that. Cecilia's what a great year for them. 9-1, kind of flew under people's radar. And I even forgot to mention in our last podcast. I should have done that, but we're running out of time. We had
There's
stuff
so
to
may
do.
teams to cover. You got three.
Yeah, it was a long weekend. It was a long weekend.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of great high school games around the state. But yeah, moving on. Number 3, we have Assumption, who's shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, great season by the Mustangs this year.
Reese Sturter, and Chase Jacobs leading the way with that prolific Mustang rushing offense. Then you have number 4, you have Lutcher, who's the defending state champion in Division II non-select.
From this bracket.
Yep. Number 5, you have West Feliciana. Number 6, you have Wasson, who's one of the better defenses in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, you have Leesville. And number 8, you have Iowa.
Yep. You got it right.
So Iowa. Yeah. I was Iowa for a long time. And I found it's Iowa. I'm like, oh, okay. Well,
I thought so too when I first started. But it's Iowa. Yep.
Yeah, that's an easy fix. But Jason, what do you have to say about these two brackets?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that Division II non-select. I mean, in years past, they used to be like a top-heavy district. Division. A lot of people were saying it might not be the toughest division. I mean, out of all, that's what a lot of people are saying. But there's some good teams. I mean, there's some really good teams in this division. I mean, you look at North DeSoto, what they're able to do with Luke Delafield. You mentioned him earlier as a ninth grader going to the state championship game last year, which is pretty insane. And now he has a chance to do that this year. Cecilia, I'm not going to go over all my picks yet for the state championship, but they're going to be one of them to keep an eye on. And Assumption's having a great year. Letcher's been winning games a little differently this year, focusing on more on the defensive side of the football. But Leesville, Wassman, Coach Kahie's doing a good job over there, and what he was able to do in his first year. So it's going to be a very interesting bracket to follow. I don't think there's like a overwhelming favorite in that bracket, but it is going to be interesting to follow. Like I said, probably for different reasons. You can probably say there's like 3 or 4 teams you can say that could win the state championship out of this bracket. And then when you look at the select side or the Division II selects, as we're having a conversation earlier about regular season finale. You had St. Thomas More, you have LCA, and the way that game, of course, the classic championship game we saw last year, and what we saw in the regular season finale between these two teams. I'm sure everybody that's a fan that's penciling them for them to be in the state championship again. But like you said, I think Edie White's definitely a team you have to, really think about. You already talked about JFK and what they're doing this year. So there's some teams that can spoil the party this year. But I mean, man, it would be very cool to see that game against St. Thomas More LCA. That'll be very entertaining to watch. But there are some teams that are capable of spoiling that rematch.
Yeah, and Division II select, I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a little bit top heavy at the beginning of the year because last year that's how it was, and all those teams, Turlings, LCA, and St. Thomas More, the 3 Lafayette schools, and also Edie White were returning a lot of players, so everyone thought it was going to be top heavy. But as we got later in the season, John F. Kennedy's really come through. They have a lot of talent over there. including cornerback Bernard Cos, who's committed to LSU.
Right.
And they also have a few other players in the class of 2025 that are really good as well, and they're D1 prospects. Shaw has really turned it up from the midseason to now. I mean, they defeated a very, very talented Karen Crow team.
As far as like momentum games going to the playoffs, the Karen Crow getting that, I mean, losing to Karen Crow, I mean, beating Karen Crow, that was really big for Shaw.
Yeah, and that was probably one of my top 5 statement wins of the year.
Yeah, that was.
And I think, that goes up there with Assumption being Lutcher, Holy Cross being John Curtis. Mm-hmm. I mean, Catholic being Zachary, or U High being Catholic. I mean, that's up there with those games. I mean, that was a huge momentum swing, not only for the team this season, but the program and the school and the community as a whole.
And to win a shootout, too.
Yeah.
That's an icing on the cake.
Yeah, and then also Turling's number is the 7th seed. Like, that's still a very talented and dangerous and well-coached Turling's Catholic team. So I think that's a bracket to watch out for. Division II non-select, like you said, it's not really like as talent heavy or stacked as some of the other divisions. But that's a division that should be exciting because we have no idea who's going to come out of that.
It was like that last year.
Yeah, we have no idea, and anybody could be anybody. Any team could be any team at any time during that.
It's the most unpredictable. It should.
Yeah, it would definitely be.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. It wouldn't be surprised when we get Cinderella run out this. It would.
Oh yeah,
it would not surprise me.
Right. Exactly, and Division II select and non-select. Very excited about those 2 brackets. But now we move on to Division I. I think one of the biggest stories so far has this year has been Holy Cross. Last year they finished in last place in the Catholic League. They finished with a 3-8 year. Now they are the number 1 seed in Division I Select. Shout out to Coach Wadney. What a fantastic job. In my opinion, he's probably the coach of the year. I think you said he's probably the coach of the year.
He gets my vote this year. I mean, like you said, Coach L. Page, Coach Cahey from Wasp, they're certainly great candidates. Coach Roart this year, but my vote would be Coach Wadney this year.
Right, exactly. And then number 2, we have Captain Shreve. Number 3, you have Catholic BR, who's really one of the harder teams in the state. They started the season, even though on record they started the season 2-2. One of those wins was a Warren Easton forfeit.
They were really a play away from being 0-4, like you mentioned.
Right. Yeah. And that Warren Easton, when they played Warren Easton, they lost 49-26. They did not look like they should be on the same field as Warren Easton, but they've really rebounded well. What a great job! What a great job that Hudson Fuller's done this first year.
Yeah,
that was a rough start of the season, and for a young coach like him to really make adjustments and to keep this team moving forward and defeating Catholic in dramatic fashion in overtime. What a fantastic job he's done with that team. And also shout out to the senior leaders on the team, including Daniel Beal and Barry Rima, for keeping the tide rolling. And that's very important going to the playoffs. But moving on in Division I. Yeah, Division I Select. Brother Mar, number 4, always going to be a factor in Division I Select. Number 5, you have Carr. That's a very dangerous Carr team.
Oh, yeah.
That's
going to be mad. That's going to be an angry team. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh,
They're gonna be angry.
Yeah. And, speaking why they're angry, because the 6th seed John Curtis defeated them in the last game 41-7. Also, shout out to Coach JT Curtis for winning his 622nd victory overall. And, they've also become hot as well. They had two back-to-back losses between Holy Cross and Rummel. Both close games, but they've really responded well. They shut out KDN at 22-0. They just kept winning, and they defeated a very talented Carr team 41-7. So they're rolling right now. And
that was a good point you mentioned, Grant, because that KDN game seemed like that was something changed with that win. Like it was John Curtis was playing pretty good, but like when being them like that was just shows you, okay, this Curtis team is really getting enough to get one like that. You shut KDN out like that. Right.
I think everyone's kind of looking for maybe probably another rematch between Catholic and John Curtis. The quarterfinals. Everything works out, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's that's something about playoffs. You can make predictions right now, and then something happens, and another thing happens. So, you can't really make. It's hard to make predictions, man. It really is. But moving on, number 7, you have St. Paul's. Their only loss was against Brother Martin, so they're 9-1 currently. And then Acadiana, they finished the season 8-2. They won the district championship. They had 2 really tough losses. One of them was the beginning of the year against LCA, where they lost 61-38. And then, of course, as we just mentioned, they got shut out by John Curtis, 22-0. And then also Division I non-select, which is the very last bracket to be released. So I think everyone's in that because that's probably the most stacked bracket of them all.
Big names. Everywhere. Yeah.
But then number 1 seed, I think no shocker here. Ruston, probably the pound for pound best team in the state.
Yeah.
Then you have number 2, you have Neville. Number 3, you have Destrehan. 4, you have Airline. Oh, by the way, Destrehan's the defending Division I non-select champion.
Yeah, they are.
Runner-ups. Just want to put that up. Number 4, we have Airline.
Could be a matchup. We'll never know.
Yeah, could be a rematch, but but then again, got the playoffs have to be played. Teams got to
play it out.
Yeah, we got to play it out exactly. Number 5, you have Cinnamon. Number 6, you have Zachary. 7, you have Dutchtown. And 8, you have West Monroe. Varies, and then 9 from going 9 down. I mean, there's a lot of great teams over there as well. A lot of upsets can happen, but Jace, looking at the top 8 seeds for Division I non-select and select, what stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, how about 2 teams from the same district in Baton Rouge that, I mean, we've been harping on it pretty much for a lot throughout the year, but I still find I didn't really have a lot of high expectations for this district heading into the year. And you have 2 teams in Dutchtown and Sandmall in the top 8. That's saying really a lot about how those 2 teams have really done this year. And I mean, Neville has 1 loss when everybody's complaining about they shouldn't be playing in this bracket, but there's some people saying that, and but they're number 2. You can play with them. So there's some Neville fans that are saying they shouldn't play in this bracket, but you're right there. You're the number 2 seed, and you have a chance to win. You almost beat Ruston. So that should tell you that you do belong in this division. So, but looking at the top, I know you're.
I've never understood about Neville. It's you guys have one of the more talented teams in the state. You guys can compete with anybody, and you're complaining because you have to face competition. But what? Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous.
And now to be clear, it's not the team. It's not the team that's saying this.
It's not the team. It's some of the fans, which is again, you got to separate the 2. Because I think the coaches are fine. The coaches, program, the school's fine. It's just the fans. But but then again, that's why the games have to be played. Neville could very well they can very well be in the dome. So it's not it's not like they're because there's not like they're JFK where they're a D3 school and you got to go up and compete against the D2 schools that sometimes have 100 kids like St. Thomas More. Yeah. So there's some things I agree with, but when you're Neville and you're complaining about playing up, it's come on, dog.
I mean, you're a 5A school, So
you're a 5A school. I mean, you're basically a higher 4A school with the numbers of a 5A school. I mean, come on, man. In terms of the team. So, but and
then Zachary, I mean, at number 6 too, because I'm curious to see how they. I'm curious to see how they rebound after a disappointing loss to the Catholic like that. Very tough overtime loss. Yeah. So I got my eyes on the Zachary Broncos to see what they do and how they respond.
Yeah, and that could be a very exciting quarterfinal matchup if everything works out, of course, because the game's still got to be played. But I'm not making too many early predictions right now. We're saving that for tomorrow. But Division I select, I mean non-select, that's a very tough bracket. I mean, as we mentioned, how we mentioned Dutchtown and St. Paul were in the same district. Walker is also in the same district as them, and they can make some noise too in the playoffs. Airline is one of the top offices in the country. So offices not only in the state, I think even the country. I mean, they're putting up yards and yards and yards. And if everything works out, they could have a quarterfinal matchup with semifinal matchup with Ruston. So you're going to literally have the best offense in the state going against the best defense in the state.
Yep.
So that'll be a very intriguing matchup if everything works out.
Unstoppable force versus immovable object.
Yeah,
matchup.
exactly right. Exactly, and a lot of most of the schools we mentioned are powers. Ruston, East State championships. I think Neville's won like 9. I think 9. I think Destrayan's won like 5 or 6.
Yeah, they won their fair share of.
Zachary's won 4 in the last 10 years. And then West Monroe was probably the team of the 90s.
Yeah, them and Bamford Christian were the 2 top teams in the 90s for sure.
Exactly, and then Division I select. I mean, that's going to be very intriguing as well. And like I said, I think I told you this. You could very well see 3 teams, 3 public schools in the semifinals.
Yeah,
there's a lot of the public schools have really stepped up their game because they know they got to play against the private schools, and sometimes they can recruit, and they know that. But I think, they really haven't complained. They stepped up their game up, and I really think that you could see 2, maybe even 3 public schools in the semifinals, and I think that's a good thing because it's shown people that like the public schools can compete too. Because I think the stigma around the state for the public schools, especially the smaller schools, I think the bigger public schools are fine. I think it's the smaller public schools.
Yeah, right.
It shows that like the bigger public schools can compete with the bigger division, the bigger private schools. I think that's the right step. The right step in the direction we want to go. I think for everybody, because I think the split I think really messed up Louisiana high school football, and now the amount of talent that we're seeing out of Louisiana, including at the quarterback spot.
Which is better than it's ever really been. I mean, just like the last couple of years, it's going better. I mean, ever since I really started in this business, it was kind of peaking up. But like these last 2 years, it's at a all-time high, and the future's obviously very bright at that position.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I think that's the right. I think we're stepping in the right direction, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds in the playoffs. But in the meantime, I'm Grant Chachere with my co-host Jace LeJeune of Gridiron Football. Thanks for watching another edition of Protect the Boot. We'll see you guys next time when we have Jared Rozier of
the Three Amigos.
Three Amigos. Yeah. Can't wait. See y'all.
Yep.